Please silence all electronic devices for the duration of the meeting. I'm Melanie Williams, and I'm the Operations and Safety Committee Chair. Today's June 26, 2023, and we are ready to hold a meeting where we have a format that is hybrid, and we do have quorum that is physically present at the HART Administrative Office, 1201 East 7th Avenue, Florida Conference Room, and the rest of the board members are participating via communication media technology. If you'll stand and join me to say the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Jackson, will you take roll call, please?
Committee Member Kemp? Committee Member Knight?
Here.
Committee Member Schisler?
Here.
Committee Chair Williams?
Here.
You do have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All right, next we have public comments. Do we have anyone ready to speak today? Okay,
ma'am.
thank you. That concludes our input from the public. We'll move on to the approval of minutes.
Move to approve.
All right. All right, Ms. Jackson, would you please take the note, please?
Committee Member Knight? Committee Member Schisler?
Yes.
Committee Chair Williams?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. We're on to our committee action items. For the committee's review and consideration this morning, Mr. Brian Allen will present the amended operators agreement between Tampa Historic Streetcar, Inc. and the Hillsborough Transit Authority and the amended streetcar operations and maintenance plan. Mr. Allen, you're up. Thank you.
Yes, we're seeking approval for the amended operating agreement for the streetcar along with the incorporated operation and maintenance plan, which is an amendment to the agreement. A summary of changes is in your board packet. None of the changes were substantive and primarily made to recognize the current status of the system and the fleet, as well as circumstances that have not been previously contemplated at the time of the original agreement. Does anyone have any questions?
Authorize execution of the amended operators agreement between Tampa Historic Streetcar, Inc. and the Hillsborough Transit Authority and the amended streetcar operations and maintenance plan.
Move to approve.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson, will you take roll for the vote, please?
Committee Member Knight? Yes. Committee Member Schisler?
Yes.
Committee Chair Williams?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
All right, we're up to presentations at this time. This is where we present our operations and maintenance metric report. Mr. Bobby Edwards is Director of Transportation. Also going to have Mr. Nicholas Goldburn, Director of Fleet Maintenance, and Mr. Richard Campbell, Chief Safety Officer, to
Good morning, Chair, board members, Mr. Drainville. So looking at May's ridership, fixed route was at 957,000. Streetcar is at 85,000. Then 88 paratransit at 18,000, putting us at around 1,065,000 for total ridership for the month of May. As we look at the 6-month ridership trend for fixed route, we see at 957,000 for May. One of the things that sticks out here is March. That was mainly due to spring break. So we had that high increase, and then it came back down to 900 and back up to around where the average is, 957,000 for a fixed route. As we look at our average weekday daily ridership, you still see the 1, the 6, 34, 400, and 39 pretty much carrying most of our riders for April and for May. Here, we'll take a look at our total on-time performance for the system. Again, 72.6% for the month of April. Also for Commissioner Schisler, for that month, we had 36 detours. I think that was something that you were asking about. And then for May, as we look at our on-time performance at 71.4%, we experienced 29 detours. And also for average system speed, I think that's something else you were asking for. We average about 17.2 miles per hour for the system speed. Ms. Williams, this is a slide you asked for a few months back. We take a look at our top 5 routes and its ridership. As you see, the 1, the 6, 34, 412 for April, and its ridership for those routes. The only change from April to May is that the Route 12 and the Route 39 kind of shift gears. So if we had a 5A and a 5B, it'd be Route 39 and a Route 12 of the top 5 routes. Then we look at our 6-month system-wide trend. Streetcar was at 99.75%. As you see, paratransit is at 90.2%. And then fixed route is at 71.4%. With our fixed route, our new standard is at the national average, 77%. That's our goal of trying to get there. Then lastly, we take a look at how many trips did we complete versus how many trips that we missed. We completed 99.66% of our trips, only missing 0.34. And bringing emphasis to the 0.34 is less than 1% of the trips that were scheduled that we missed. So we completed 99.66% of all of our trips. And that concludes my portion. Is any questions?
Thank you for the additional information. That does help. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Mr. Edwards, I have one. On page 7, let me go back to page 4. This is where we have the average weekly daily ridership. And it looks as if the on-time performance for those routes that are much busier have a lower percentage of on-time route. I was just curious because I see 34, 6, when I looked at that first page where it has 1, 6, 34, 400. Those are our most, highest
Correct.
number of riders. But then when I look at the missed report, they seem to be, are they missed more so than, or not on time more so than the others?
Yeah, if you look at it, and just to clarify, if we're completing 99% of our trips, so it's guaranteed that the passengers are getting picked up. Whether they're getting picked up on time within that 5-minute, 7-minute window of being late is another thing. But when you think about the amount of riders that's primarily riding those routes compared to the other routes, they're stopping, picking up wheelchairs and different things like that, can cause those routes not to be on time as much as the other ones. But one of the things we're looking at into the future is how do we start focusing in on those routes that's carrying most of our riders, to be able to look for opportunities where we can put more time or more frequency on those routes so they can be on time, if that makes sense.
It does. I can tell significant improvement being made because it's above the median.
Right.
But those that have the higher route, higher number of passengers, they are not on time as much as the
Correct.
others are.
Correct.
So I just wanted to correlate what we hear and how we see that, and if we can look into
Absolutely.
plans specifically for those high high usage buses,
Right,
so we could have a better plan, because in all, they average 71, 72%, but those others are down in the 60s.
right.
And so it just kind of hides that look of the number of people that are being impacted.
Correct. Justin, who's started as our Director of Planning and Scheduling, he's came on board. He's bringing new ideas, and we've started having a conversation a few weeks ago about the possibilities of things we can do with those main core routes
Okay.
to improve the on-time performance.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Good presentation, thank you for the additional information. We have a committee a cross-functional committee, I believe, that even has board members on it now. What kind of ideas are we coming up with? Is there anything constructive? Is it actionable? These ideas, what's the flavor for what this committee's putting forth to help improve these?
And I think you're speaking to the on-time performance work group. We met about 2 weeks ago on a Friday. And mainly for that meeting, we meet probably once a month. Mainly for that meeting, they were looking at individual routes, and they were looking for opportunities from a scheduling standpoint on those routes, how to improve and get more efficiency from those routes. So there were some good ideas that came out of there. So then after we get that information, we'll get the minutes from that, and then we'll meet with the planning and scheduling team and see what type of things we can move forward from that. We got a markup coming up in August as well, and we probably meet within the next 2 weeks with that group of operators where they can look at the schedules and things and make sure that it fits and is going to provide the best outcome for them as well.
Okay, I just want to make sure that the group triages what's going on and picks it apart to say, well, you know, the one I think about was wheelchairs and bikes. That adds time no matter what you do.
Right.
So I hadn't even given that a thought, and I know I see that happen all the time on the routes, the 6 route. So anyway, no, I was just curious, make sure that you know we don't want to create more work that's not value adding.
Right.
For the operators and your training staff or performance staff. Thank you very much.
Yep, no problem.
Director Knight.
Curious, like the dispatcher and the drivers, has anything changed in that area? Have you increased the performance at one time when I thought it was like, the numbers seem like something has changed?
No, I think we've pretty much stayed the same as far as dispatch. In OCC, we got 18 positions. We're short 2 right now. We're working to get those 2 filled. As far as operators, you know, you take a look at the seasons. We know that, you know, when the school is out, we'll take a look at June as we come back next month, and we should see increases because traffic patterns and school being out. So then as we go back into school in August, we'll start seeing a dip a little bit in those areas. But we also trying to look at those trends as well and be able to build schedules based off of those trends. I know that's something that Justin and his team is working on as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you.
One other, like,
Yes, Director Knight.
I think he was getting some information pertaining to like that maintenance facility. Any updates, anything in that area that?
There's actually a presentation coming up.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, the next,
Committee Chair, that was just the operations portion. There's still the
Oh.
maintenance and safety portion.
my apologies, sorry about that. Thanks.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Directors,
morning.
Mr. Dranville. Nicholas Goldburn, Interim Director of Maintenance. I'll be presenting the maintenance portion next. Our safety program remains compliant with FTA and FDOT standards. For the months of April and May, we inspected a total of 199 buses. All inspections were done on time within 6,000 miles. For system reliability, we drove an average 15,312 miles for the month of April between failures. For May, we did see a decrease. We dropped to 11,131 miles. And the main contributor to the decrease for May was the increase in temperatures. We saw an increase in AC complaints, check engine lights, and coolant leaks. As we crossed 85 degrees, we started seeing these trends. So it's a seasonal situation that happens every year. So it's not something we're overly worried about, but we do take actions to reduce occurrences. That concludes the maintenance portion. Next will be the safety. Do you have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Directors, Mr. Drainville. My name is Richard Campbell. I'm the Chief Safety Officer, and I'll be reporting safety events for the months of April and May. So for the month of April, our fixed route, or bus, as we say, for April, we had 0 fatalities reported, 3 injuries reported, and 6 safety events reported. For May, we had 0 fatalities reported, 1 injury, and 0 safety events reported. So according to the PTAS, which is an FTA guideline, we have a self-imposed 0.5 rate that we're looking at. That's what we kind of grade ourselves at. And so for the month of April, we had a very slight increase of 0.56. And for the month of May, you see a sharp decrease of 0.18 in fixed route injuries. Moving on to fixed route safety events, we also had for the month of April a slight little increase from 0.106 to 0.12. And for the month of May, you see a sharp decrease and had 0 events. Paratransit safety report. For April, we had 0 fatalities, 0 injuries, and 1 safety event reported. And for the month of May, we had 0 fatalities, 0 injuries, and 4 safety events reported. For Streetcar, both in April and May, we had no injuries, fatalities, or safety events reported. Are there any questions?
Director Knight, could you use your microphone, please? Thank you.
Okay, sorry. Back to the forced safety event. What type of safety events? What type?
So according to the NTD, safety events would be any type of injury, anybody that has to be treated for a medical. So if we have a slip and fall, if somebody fall and hit their head or something like that, anything that's reportable.
Thank you. In regards to this question, do we maintain a record or a log of preventable versus non-preventable accidents, and then the actions we're taking with those to
Absolutely.
mitigate that? Maybe it'd
Absolutely.
be a good opportunity for us to get an update on that, maybe once a quarter, to see
Okay.
what type of incidents are happening and what we can do, or what you guys are doing to improve those incidences, because of course, safety is the most important.
Absolutely.
For our patrons as well as our employees.
So I think if you look at the slide, you see the sharp drop from April to May. So during the middle month of April, we finished our QST, what we call our quarterly safety training. And so as you see, human nature is, you get something that's fresh, and then as time goes on, it kind of tapers off. And as human beings, we tend to be complacent. So we see a sharp decrease right after those quarterly safety events. There's probably, the opportunity of it kind of ticking up again, and hopefully, right around the time we do the next quarterly safety, we keep it down. But I will definitely bring those quarterly, those preventables.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other comments, questions? Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome, thank you. All right, we will move on to our basic transit infrastructure amenities overview. And at the May committee meeting, I requested the staff present an update on the criteria for shelter installations and the strategy on the installations of benches and shelters. Ms. Linda Crescentini, Director of Program Management. You are recognized and will take us through the next presentation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Williams, members of the committee, Mr. Drainville. Linda Crescentini, Director of Project Management, and as you just mentioned, I'm here as a follow-up to the May 15th committee questions. So real quick, let me just explain BTI high level. Just a little bit of background, what is BTI and what are our goals? So the BTI program, Basic Transit Infrastructure, is the lead for our bus stop amenities. So BTI, in conjunction with safety, operations, maintenance, communication, IT, all different departments collaborated on a standardization plan for bus stops and facilities. So why are we doing this now? Our current shelter inventory is nearing the end of its useful life. We have way too many different various types of shelters, which makes it difficult to maintain inventory, and it's extremely expensive. So what we're looking to do, the goal of the program, is to require modular, scalable, adjustable, and maintainable shelters. So with that said, one of the questions that came up was on the selection criteria. How do the locations get stops or shelters, or what are the amenities at the stops? Just as mentioned 2 seconds ago, site safety is our #1 priority, right? We want to make it safe, accessible for boarding and exiting our stops. That's our #1 priority. These other factors 2 through 6 play into the selection criteria. For example, ridership, the high ridership and community needs. Corridors for high ridership and places that drive ridership, such as a Walmart strip center, community services, social security office, government offices, those types. That's one of the criteria. Resources. I want to thanks to our facilities department. They've been trained on installing these shelters, which actually helps keep our costs lower so that we could do more with less. The costs of the locations, some locations are extremely expensive, especially if there's drainage issues, big drainage ditches, sidewalk connectivity. The costs vary, so that has to play into the amount of funding that we have. Shelter conditions. Some of the shelters we have are perfectly fine. They may be older, but they're in good shape. They might not have met their 10-year useful life, but they're ADA compliant, and it's a safe location. And finally, for the selection criteria, the goal is to get standardization. We want to have the look and feel the same. We want a high level of quality and manage expectations for when our customers approach a shelter or a bus stop. So with that said, a question came up on the current inventory. There's a total bus stop inventory, and these change weekly. Some come out, get replaced, moved around a little bit. But just approximately, there's 2,250 locations where we have bus stops. We have sheltered stops at 650. The benches, and I want to stress a point here on the current inventory for the benches. The benches have 1,072 from Creative Media and Metro JCs. HART does not have any ownership or responsibility for those benches. Those benches are installed based on agreements with the city and the county. We're not part of the process. The only time we get involved with those advertising benches is when they block access into one of our shelters, or it affects the day-to-day activities at that location. So I just want to make sure, because it does get brought up a lot, with the benches, and sometimes they have advertising benches where we don't even have stops. So I just wanted to make sure on that. And HART does have 90 benches that go in various locations when needed. So again, the key elements of the program: accessibility and visibility. We want universal accessibility to our stops. We want to ensure safety and sustainability. We want to provide passengers with real-time information, which improves the customer service, and it makes the connection with other modes of transportation a lot easier. And we want to promote and facilitate the branding of the system. So a timeline, the first year, which we're going to say fiscal year 22, and this is totally dependent on the funding that we have. We were able to secure and purchase 60 shelters for a little over $1.2 million. Our program manager Dwayne Brown has done an outstanding job of getting those installed. We're down to, I think, less than 5 that are not accounted for. We also have 30 construction projects for a little over $1 million and 25 projects that have gone through the design process for a little over $500,000. By year 5, it's critical that we're trying, and again, it depends on funding, to replace at least half of the shelters that are past the end of their useful life for about $6 million. Design and construction of 150 non-ADA compliant stops, which is about $10 million. And real-time information, to introduce real-time information to help our patrons access transit. And with that said, I want to thank the Florida Department of Transportation. We were able to secure a $3 million grant in just the last couple of weeks to help us kickstart the real-time information at our transit centers and major bus stops. So the last, and then the 10-year, we do the remaining, and, sorry, I should have said that. At the 10-year plan, we replace the remaining 350 shelters. Then we start all over again because we're at the 10-year, but in much better shape. So the funding requirements, we want to focus on the 2 top core requirements, the bus stop design, construction, and ADA improvements. That's critical. We have approximately 390 locations with an average cost of $50,000, which brings us almost to $20 million. And then the shelters, to install the shelters, is to replace the 650 will bring us a little over 10 million for a total of 30 million needed to bring us to the plan of standardization. The potential amenities, like I had mentioned with DOT's funding, they're helping us kickstart this. We have small, medium, and large, which we have a standalone solar lighting for just a post. And we have our new e-readers and our real-time information that we can run our pilot on. So the overall cost of the program is approximately $84 million. But that just kind of gives you a snapshot of where we are at right now. So with that said, thank you, and if you have any questions. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Sorry. Would you like me to repeat that all over? Thank you so much for your presentation. It was amazing, and you responded very well and to our request, so we appreciate that. The other question is just the ADA aspect. You brought some of the things up that are being done, and I know that was also mentioned in some of the notes I saw from the ADA committee. And so I think we want to get in a habit of understanding what portion of this is for ADA and what portion of it is for others. And if we could identify what those are, I think that would help our ADA community to understand the improvements that are being made, but also keep us top of mind to think about some of the things they're bringing forward in the committee meetings.
Absolutely. And what we are going to provide, Mr. Drainville, now going forward, before and after shots, so that you can see the current conditions of the accessibility and how when we have sidewalk connectivity and all that, you know, that will be brought out. But we can absolutely separate the two.
Okay. I think that doing so, that, I mean, usually there's some type of safety issue.
Absolutely.
And so just making sure it's tied to the efforts that we do, what you're doing here, and with the efforts from the ADA committee standpoint.
Sure.
They have that linkage. Director Knight, you're recognized.
And again, thanks for the presentation. You know, riding around, pretty much the stops out there, they pretty much, everyone you're doing already have the ADA
in it, and you're going back and redoing the old ones to bring it up to date, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, all new ones are ADA compliant.
Yeah.
We're trying to go backwards and fix the ones that are not. And, you know, some locations, we have constraints. Some locations, we don't have enough right-of-way, you know, to put the connectivity in, but we're doing the best we can to make sure that people have a safe path to and from the bus stop.
Okay. And also with Hillsborough County coordination going good with them, support?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Our team reviews all of their plans. They work with the developers and try to get the developers, and I think they've been pretty successful getting the developers to pay for a lot of the shelters, you know, as part of their development plan. So absolutely, we're working with both the city and the county. We review their, like if DOT had an expansion, taking a lane from 2 to 4 lanes, and they're doing an improvement along a corridor, we meet with them to look at the, you know, where the bus stops are and make sure that they're compliant with our standard.
You can also notice like in the city with the bike routes and everything and some of those shelters is impacted on some of that stuff and seem like it's going real good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Thank you very much, Ms. Crescentini.
You're welcome. I was just going to say for the second, it's more of an informational item. There's not a presentation for the heavy maintenance facility like you requested. But is it okay to move on?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, sorry, should have asked. So Director Knight, we have a team of professionals coming out this week. We have architects, engineers, planners that are going to be visiting the site and walking the site and interviewing folks. Is CDM Smith, the board approved it a couple of months ago. They'll be on site to look at the studies that were previously done. They're gonna go ahead and they're gonna dust off the evaluations, look at a circulation plan for the entire site, and then make recommendations on how we can address the heavy maintenance building specifically. So you'll see a lot. They're gonna, it's gonna take them a little bit of time to gather all those requirements and pull it all together and make their recommendations, and as soon as they're ready, we'll be coming back to the committee and board, you know, for your input into what they found during their studies.
Thanks.
And they'll, sorry, one last thing I forgot to tell you. They'll also dust off the cost estimates, so we'll have a better understanding where we are with the cost estimate.
Thank you for the the facility presentation. I'm just looking forward to turning dirt.
Me too.
And, you know,
Me too.
take that monkey off everybody's back. We need
Yes.
to do that.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilman Schussler. Is there a timeline set for the heavy maintenance project?
So we're doing the planning part right now to make sure that everything is focused on the HM facility and not the campus-wide. The campus-wide is over $100 million, and those costs have probably gone up because those are 2019 figures. We really have to focus on getting that heavy maintenance facility up to standards. So the team they have up to 6 months to provide this, but I think they're on an accelerated timeline, so we're hoping to come back to you way before that.
Director Knight?
Well, that's good. Thanks for the update. And even that weekly report, if some of that can be reflected, I'm sure some of the director would be glad to. And in any kind of way, being that cost continues to go up, some things that pretty much needed maybe can get locked in or whatever, once you know which direction we're going. So thanks for the update and the progress.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome.
All right, we're moving on to old business. Any old business? Okay. Any new business? Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.